because I couldn't find Corey's email to click in, so a little.
So if you go to Slack where you post all the files, up at the top of that room is a little like thumbtack looking icon.
Okay.
If you click on that, it'll automatically pop up the link on the right-hand side. I pinned the Zoom link in Slack, so it's always easily accessible.
Oh, okay. Now I know. After all these classes, it's over. I know that everybody is pretty anxious about the homework, right?
Yes.
Huh? Let's see if I can pull that up. Homework. Did you guys see my the posting on Slack on the second homework assignment?
Yes.
Okay, good. So the first one is all ready. I'll send it out after class today. Actually, it's kind of ready, last week, but I just want to double check. Don't want to miss anything. So just take a few minutes to go over assignment 1. We have 3 questions. First one is to explain why Buddhism flourished in China. So for each question, like this question has A and B. So it's got like 10 points for one question. Okay. So like if you, I'm sorry, 20 points for one question. So if it's got A and B, that means it's 10 points for A and 10 points for B. So if you do very, very good on A, but you do nothing on B, I'm so sorry. The limit on the first part is only 10 points. So the total question, the total assignment that you get would be that 10 point, which is divided by 20, you got 50 points over there, okay? And then when you look at the syllabus, it's got a scale like, let me see if I can pull that up. It's got a scale. I think everybody should have this file, right? The syllabus or the cost evaluation and all those. You should have that. So it's got a key to grade, okay? If you got 50 to 55, for example, you got a B- there, okay? Which is like 2.7 grade point average on that one. So I have, this chart in front of me telling me how to grade them. And then, I do have a benchmark, like, if you list according to the notes, then you got, like for the first question, if you have described the historical background, political background, you got 2 points there. I have this comparison, the reasons to support that why Buddhism flourished. And if you have, like, remember I sent you an additional list on how to, about the introduction. So if you find that list, they actually telling you, what are the reasons, then you got 4 points there. And then if your content, your flow, articulation, clearness, clarification, if you have references and relevant additional information, you got another 4 points. So that is a total. This is just an example, okay? So like for part B is a little bit tricky because I did not say anything, well, not list or describe it in very extensive. Okay, sorry, I forgot my video. Okay, this part I would like, you know, whoever choose this question to do a little bit of research. Not much, but at least a little bit of research. So it's not just copying from the notes to the answer. So I have another 10 points here, and almost the same of, you know, the evaluation, but, you know, we have a classmate who did excellent job on this one. So like question number 2 is the 2 suttas, Nikaya suttas, you know, SN 22.57, which is the 7 Ks, and then the 3 investigation. So what do I expect from here is, you know, you give me the 7 Ks and the 3 investigation, and then explanation. Like, for example, what are the 7 cases? You say that, okay, the 5 aggregates. First is the form. Form is composed of the 4 elements. If you add space, that's good. So the 4 elements, how do you investigate? So you investigate the suffering of it, the cause of suffering, why, you know, suffering happened. You explain the cessation, and then the path lead to cessation. And for the rest of the 3, like gratification, danger, and escape, you know it's suffering, but then because we attach to this body, to this form so much, without realizing it, so it's like, you know, it's a pleasure with this, either physical pleasure or the mental pleasure, so mental happiness. So that's the gratification. Then you have the you're aware that because it's impermanent, so we realize the danger, and then we know how to escape it. Those are, you know, the explanation that I'm expecting on this question. And then the papancha. Now I'm looking for, we understand that how contact arises. So it's external, the physical form with the faculty come across to the external object, give rise to consciousness. Those 3 things together form, give rise to the contact. So contact arises that. And then feeling, with contact, we have feeling. With feeling, we have the perception, so on and so forth. But we have to mention that what is the reason behind that? It's because the 3 frictions, okay? So if you explain that, you know, with references and also additional information. So you got, you know, a 10 point out of that. Now, question 3, it's divided into 3 parts. So it's a little bit difficult to, like say, evenly distributed 10 point, come up to the 20 points. So for 3A, you can get, you know, you can get 6 points out of that by describing the differences between Mahayana and Theravada tradition. And then B, you know, again, paramita, the 10 in Theravada tradition, the 10 in Mahayana, but, you know, originally was 6. Why adding the 4, and what are the differences, you know, compare to the Theravadan tradition, okay? And then 3, I have a few people miss that question. Very unfortunate. This part 3, question 3C, divided again into 2 parts. One is to based on Venerable Master Insun's discourse, the Prajna Paramita Sutra, that two parts. C1 is to just name, briefly describe what are the prajna. So Venerable Insun mentioned that Shibudi asked 4 questions. If you mention that 4 questions, you got 2 points already. Then after that, you explain the 3 prajna: reality, insight, and language. Okay, just describe and explain that. And then if you throw in, if you can refer to, this is from Venerable Master Insun, but if you can refer to, some other resources. So totally you got like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 7 points on this first part. So it's not that difficult. Then C2, it's like if you mention the 2 lineages, Xianzang and Kumarajiva, okay, then you already got 2 points there. So totally it's 11 point, 10, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, again, 20 points. Okay. C is 11 points, B is 3 points, and then A would be 6 points. So that's what I'm looking for. And then I find out one problem. That is why I make some adjustment on assignment 2. I find that, most of our classmates, because the requirement sets 5 to 6 pages. So most of us, we just end at 5 pages, okay? And then turns out that, the first part of the question did a very, very lengthy and very good, very precise, detailed answer. But then because, probably you guys think about like, oops, this is already 4 pages. So I have to finish the last part in 1 page. So it's just like, oh, what happened? The first part is so detailed and so good with all the references, and all of a sudden, part C or part 2, it's like cutting it short. So what I'm going to do right now here for the second assignment, I extend it to 7 pages, okay? So don't be afraid to go over a little bit. I won't take off anything. Okay, sorry, I have to. My throat is a little bit scratchy this morning. I did not take any points away for any, mistake or any grammar, any misspelling. I make corrections for you. I try to scratch my head to find points. So, if I can add 1 point, I'll add to it. So congratulations. Nobody get anything under than a B, okay? Or a B minus. Okay, so everybody did a very good job. What I would like to do is, like, for example, for question A, question 1, the why Buddhism flourished in China. People will give me reasons, okay? One of the reasons would be like, okay, we have great translators because, like we have Xianzang, we have Kumarajiva, we have Buddhist. But then if you give me like, we have Xianzang, and then starting the journey to the West, then I don't know what to do with it, okay? It's good that you throw in that information, but it's not relevant, okay? So you don't get any point that, because you throw in a lot of information. Those information has to be relevant. Say if you're talking about the differences between Mahayana and and Theravada in question 3, then if you say that, okay, the difference between Theravada and Mahayana on the Bodhisattva path, then the Theravada tradition will only recognize the Buddha before he become the Buddha. That we address him or she as a Bodhisattva. So Siddhartha Gautama, before he become the Buddha, then we address, in the Nikaya, we address him as the Bodhisattva. Maitreya would be the future Buddha. So he is the Bodhisattva at this point. So any person who is going to become the Buddha next would have the title of Bodhisattva. That is why in Mahayana Buddhism, we have so many Bodhisattvas, because they are the future Buddha. Okay, but if you start telling me that, a list of the names of the previous Buddha, and you give me the, entire list of the Bodhisattva from the beginning to the end, from the east to the west, from the 3,000, worlds, then I would scratch my head. That is not relevant. Very good information, but this is not what the question is. Okay, so make sure that we put in the right information. Not as many as possible that will give you points. It's the preciseness, the accuracy, the flow, how do we bring one topic to the other one. Now, for this new assignment, before I said that, try to do it in the essay format. But for this new assignment, I would, do it a little bit. You can still do the essay format. I have almost perfect paper here. You can still do the essay format, but if you think that bullet point is going to help you to explain, feel free to use the bullet points. Okay, so that would help. Now, bear in mind, this is the homework assignment. Homework assignment allows you to go through all the papers, go through all, your resources online, everything, in addition to the notes that I given out on the exam, which is coming up, a couple of weeks. Exam, you really don't have the time, to do it in an essay form. So you might list out the points that you want to say, and then fill in the blank. Say, for example, on question 3 on the first assignment here, like differences between the Mahayana and Theravada tradition, you say Buddha, then you list what are the differences, then you expand from there. Okay, in this way, not only that you can attack the problem accurately, and you don't miss anything. Okay, not only you don't miss anything, you don't add anything that is unnecessary. All right, so that, just a little bit of, from my own experience. When I took the 3-hour test, all written in Chinese, my hand was like, it really hurts. So any question about the assignment, I do my best to, if there is a way that I can add one point, I know that this is important because it counts 40% of the total grade, okay? the final is 60%. So between these two homeworks, I hope that, you guys can get a very good, solid ground to build up on your final. Being all that said, this is an academic class, okay? We have to do it. We have to do the homework, we have to do the exam, we have to do the grading. But this is not the most important thing. The homework assignment and the exam are only a way to make sure that, we learn, we actually understand the Buddha's teaching. That is more important to me, okay? And this is not like, I'm not saying that we don't treat it seriously. Actually, we have to treat it more seriously than, the college class, because, college class is going to help us to maybe get a good job, maybe, learn some intellectual information, or, even to, like in medicine, you help people and all those. But this is not only for our own salvage. Eventually, all these information, all these techniques, all these skillful means, it's going to not only helping us, but help the others too. Okay, so learning from it is more important than, getting the grade or anything. You guys will pass. I have no doubt about that. Okay, so, but then because this is academic class, then we have to do this. So any question? Did you guys have a chance to look at assignment 2? Maybe you can ask questions about that while we are on it. Now, one thing though, these couple class before, we start with the Yogacara class, we start with Abhidhamma, we go through the Yogacara and the Faxiang school, okay? Those are very difficult informations, very difficult concepts, okay? I believe that, I think Lisa asked me about, to put together, because when we do the Abhidhamma, too much information in there, okay? You just, flip through the page, it takes time. So that, so when we look at assignment number 2, number 1, question number 1 is Abhidhamma Kosa. So all these A, B, C, first one is to define, the Buddhist terminology. Why the terminology are very important, because, it helps us to understand what's going on. Remember, Venerable Master Insun said, when you look at the sutra, the title is actually going to tell you what the content, what is the core or essence of the sutta. Same thing with the definition, like Abhi, what is Abhi, what is Dhamma, okay? So Abhi Dhamma, what Dhamma means here? Here means the teaching of the Buddha. There are 2 main teachings, right? Well, actually, you can say 2 or 3, okay? 4 truths, depending origination, and 37 perfection, okay? 37 perfection mainly on the practice. It's actually part of the 3 studies. So then, what is the meaning of conditioned and unconditioned? This is related to the contaminated or uncontaminated, okay? It's all in the notes. What are these 3 terms? I actually should be 4, but aggregate, everybody knows what is aggregate, okay? What is Aratanas, Dhatu, and Indriya, okay? All in the notes. So you might pay attention to that. And then the 4 aspects of the Abhidhamma methodology, okay, there are 4. Then choose one of the followings, not all. Don't answer 3 of them, okay? Just one of the 3, like the Dhamma theory, the 4 grounds of argument of Savasivadas, and then what is the Pudgala. So the entire Abhidhamma Kosa is to refute the idea of Savasivadian. If we don't know what their theory, then, you know, what is the purpose of composing this Abhidhamma Kosa, right? So the Savasivadian doctrine, and then how Vasubandhu critiques it. Okay, then another thing that Vasubandhu refute is the Pudgala. So those are the things. And then the Dhamma theory, everything in this Abhidhamma Kosa is talking about Dhamma. Not necessarily the Buddha's teaching, but everything. The 5 aggregates, the 12 senses bases, the 18 dhatus, they are all dhammas. Everything is dhamma. So we have to know that what dhammas mean, how the Kosa treating the Dhamma theory. Okay, so they actually, you know, classified it, not only the, you know, remember the 5 positions and then the 75 mental factors. All these are dhammas. Okay, so don't worry about memorizing, you know, the 5 position and all those mental factors. You know, we can always find that in the internet or anything. I don't even put up the 6 causes, the 4 conditions, and then 5 results, okay? Those are very important. Those are also key points. But for the purpose of this course, then we just focus on the definition, the methodology, and then maybe one of the key points, okay? Then the Yogacara school, which is we are going to go over today, this, you know, hopefully this morning, if not a little bit into the afternoon, that I kind of compose them, you know, compile them together. Okay, not compose, compile them together. So the Yogacara school, most important is the 3 essences, the 3 nature, and the 3 absence of essences. Okay, so I put together some notes so, you know, everybody can focus on that. And then the 法相, the 成为实论, and also the 30 verses of the Yogacara is about, you know, develop the 8 consciousness and also the bija theory. Okay, so those are the 2. Now you may think that, you know, you may notice that Yogacara, I missed one thing in there because I don't want to, you know, throw a lot of things on you guys. I missed the 20 verses, which we are going to go over today. 20 verses, it's different when we, you know, discuss it later on today. You find out that, you know, it's got the foundation there. It's got a reason telling us why 20 and then 30, okay? But I didn't, you know, put any homework on that. So unless you really want it, then you let me know. I can, you know, form another question or give you guys another question. If you would like to practice, you're welcome to submit anything additional not limited to that, to the questions that I ask. And then question 3 is, again, for this afternoon, hopefully, I'm hoping to finish the Sumara Sutra, the line roll of Queen Sumara. So Sumara, actually, the key point is the Tathagata theory, okay? Originally, I was going to ask you about the 10 vows, but then I changed my mind. I think the Tathagata theory is more important than, just knowing the 10 vows of Queen Sumara. So any question? I extended the maximum to 7 pages officially. If you want to write more, not more than 10, okay? Not more than 10.
So, I have a question, Katie.
Okay.
So the Abhidhamma Kasa 3, the A about the 3, that age 10, age 10, that 2, and Indraya. What meaning in Chinese, the 3 words?
It's in the notes, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, Anantana, it's the 12 sense basis. Okay.
Okay.
How do you say it in Chinese? I forgot. Tattoo is the 18 rib. 12处18件.
Okay.
Okay. Ayatana is the 12处, the 12 sense bases. Tattoo is the 18 realms. Indriya is a different animal. Indriya, remember we go through 22 Indriya, the faculties, 22 faculties. Okay, it's in the notes. Okay.
Because last class I'm not okay. Take the class.
Yeah,
thank you.
That's okay. So, everybody got my phone number? Do you have my phone number?
No, I have no.
Oh, okay. Okay, you might want to write this down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 314 14 2836. 314-814-2836. You have a question, it's easier to just give me a call or text me, okay? So it's easier that way, so I can answer you directly. I think I put it down on.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. I think I put it in when I did the introduction. I don't remember. Okay. So it's due on the 26th, which is the day before the last day, right? Am I correct? 27 is the last day. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully, everybody worked hard on that one. It's not hard. It's not easy either. But it's some training, okay? It's some training to preparation for the final. So any questions so far? So everybody know what I'm talking, right? So I'm going to close my file here. And we will get on to business right away. Okay. Okay. I said that, I put together some notes for the school, for Yogacara school and Yogacara Faxiang school, okay? Two things that we have to pay attention is the three nature, the absence of essence of the three nature, and then, the other thing is the eight consciousness and the bija theory, okay? So here I put together the three natures. For example, in the beginning, the green one you see is the Sandinimokkara Sutra. Remember the first time we touch the school of Yogacara, this is almost the base, almost the base that later Yogacara school based on for extended the study and everything. Okay, so this is the one. Then the second one is the 30 verses, which we haven't touched yet, but it's not much difference from last Sunday, our guest speaker, Dang Ye, the 成为实论. 成为实论 is an explanation of the 30 verses. 成为实论, it's not just the 30 verses, okay? Because you find out that 30 verses, there are some information that the 30 verses did not say anything about it, but it's Xian Zhang's explanation. Not only that, Xian Zhang's translation, but not only that, adding Kui Ji, his disciples' commentary on that. So I put the three together to explain or to demonstrate the three marks or the nature of all things. So if you see the green, that's from the sutra. The two of them, the next two of them are not sutra. They are sastras, they're commentaries, they're karikas, okay? So, but then they're not sutras. Okay, so if you go back to your notes, you will find this mind mapping on your far left hand, far right hand side. I'm looking at it, so it's right. On the right hand side, you see those two boxes, say chapter 4 and chapter 5. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay, good. So those are the two chapters that we are focusing on. Then we come to the structure of the 30 verses. Now the 30 verses, I'll explain it in a little bit. Now this 30 verses, I pulled it from a book written by Professor Li Rensheng. This chart, the structure, he is based on not the 30 verses, but based on the 成为实论. Because a lot of the information are not mentioned in the, I shouldn't say not mentioned, not extensively explained it. That may be the more proper saying. Because like on the last group here, the stages, all these stages, in the verses, it did not specifically mention clearly or expanded or explained it in detail, okay? So, but then Xian Zhang, when he translated, he explained it, okay? So that's another chart. Now, remember this from Dang Susu, on the left-hand side, it's, oh no, this is actually from 成为实论. I'll show you later on another chart. So this is how 成为实论comes out, the contents and the structure. Then here is the comparison. Now you see that the verses, it's 30 verses, okay? But when Xian Zhang translated the Cheng Wei Shi Lun, adding in his translation, remember Xian Zhang actually consulted, went through and studied 10 commentaries on the 30 verses to come up with Cheng Wei Shi Lun. Okay, so you can see that, you know, there are some of them, you know, he did not put a lot of information, not that he didn't put, but not emphasize a lot. But then, you know, he did have like book 9, it's all the paths, the bija, the bija theory, okay? It's very much emphasized on that. So you can do a little bit of comparison on both. Then here is the core or the theme of the teaching, the 3 full marks or 3 natures. We went through this when we did the Sandini Moksha Sutra, okay? We did that. So do you guys still want me to go over it, or you can just read it, because this is already, you know, we already talk about that. What do you think?
I think we could try to digest it our own for now.
Okay, that's good. If not, then, you know, give me a call or just text me. We can always set up another session to go over it, okay? So that's that. So those are the 3 things. Now this we didn't go over because this is the 30 verses. So, but if you compare, it's saying the same. It says everything is insubstantial and empty, okay? So there's nothing or object, same as what the Sandini Moksha Sutra is saying. The next one, again, it says the first nature is insubstantial by definition. The second nature is insubstantial because of the depending nature. And then the next one is the third nature is the ultimate truth, okay, nature. So, but it same thing, you know, just give you explanations, all these here. Now, here is Dan Sushu's note. When you see a bookmark here, it's from last week, you know, Dan Sushu or Dan Ye. So same thing. First one is imagine or illusion. The second one is the depending upon others, okay? Then third one is the perfect knowledge. So details you can, you know, get into it. I think, you know, Dan Sushu got a very good way to present it. So it kind of breaking down in a chart and then with the simile over here. So it's easy to relate to, okay? Now, remember when we studied the Sandini Moksha Sutra, that it does have simile. Like the first one is like a person with a cataract in his eye. So it's a defaulted vision. Then it's the elusive object. Then it's the person with a good vision eye, and then the object was clear. Those are the simile. So compared to these similes over here, okay? This is Dan Sushu's explanation, you know, more extended explanation, more detailed explanation of the 3 nature. Then the next one would be the absence of essence. To me, I don't know about you, to me, the three nature, it's easier to understand. But the absence of the essence of the three nature is a little bit difficulty, okay? Because it takes a little bit of the logical thinking. Like no essence of the pervasive fabrication of the deceptive mark, all these are the three. So far, any question? No?
What handout is this? I don't think you posted this to Slack yet.
Yeah,
It is? Okay.
it's posted on Slack.
Okay.
Actually, I modified it, and updated
Okay.
whole clock this morning.
Okay.
So I posted
Well,
it.
Okay.
Which one is it, Caddy? You posted about 7 or 8 of those, and I don't know
Yeah.
which ones.
The last one, when you look at, go to Slack.
I saved it on my computer.
Okay. If you saved it to,
I just saved it with your title. So what the title's 30 consciences or consciousnesses?
no, it's YF-1. Three nature of all phenomena.
Okay,
Do you see that?
thank you. I'm on a look right now.
Okay. So the most update one is 4:25 a.m. this morning. I posted it because I switched the slide a little bit. Okay. So if you're looking for the Yogacara and Fa Xiang, then there are 3 files, YF-1, YF-2, and then the 30VS-2. That is the 30 verses. We'll go, I'll post the 30 verses. Everybody find it or not?
Yes, I find those 3 on Slack.
Okay. So I pull information from Venerable Yan Pei. He's the one who wrote studies and commentaries on the Sandinimochana Sutra. Okay. He also written a book on the 30. Is it on the 30 verses? Yes, on the 30 verses. Okay, so there are some information.
There it is.
Did you guys find it or not? The absence of essence is a little bit difficult to understand. So we can go back and revisit it later on if we need to. I'm just, going through what did I, put together for everybody to study, okay? So chapter 5. Lee, you have a question? Can you find it? No?
Found it. I found it.
Okay, good, good.
Thank you.
So those are the thing. And here is actually pulled it out from the 30 verses. You see the Sanskrit, and then you see, the translation, and down here is the explanation. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So the one in red, it's pretty, telling us what is the key on that. On your version, you don't see it. This is actually my version, okay? I'm just trying to point out what are the important points here. You know, remind myself. And this is from Dan Su Su. Okay, from Dan Su Su. So that is the file that, you know, I put together that for, you know, the purpose is just to understand a little bit more and then to help us study. So the next one, let me quickly pull this out. Remember, I said two things. One is the three nature. The other one is the eight consciousness with the bija. So here is the eight consciousness and the bija, okay? It might seem a lot, but you know, when we get to understand it, it's not that difficult. Shouldn't say not that difficult. It's not too much information. I already cut a lot of them down, like, you know, I cut the conditions, I cut the, what is that? The fruitions, you know, I cut those things that I think these are the key things. Now for the eight consciousness and the seeds, I did not put Sandinimochina Sutra because at that time, remember, the eighth conscious, the theory of eight consciousness is not begin yet. Okay, the sutra, the Sandinimochara Sutra, is from Asanga. It's not from Vasubandhu. So from this course, we have 3 pieces of work of Vasubandhu. All of them are not, you know, Vasubandhu, he is not translating the sutra. He is compiling, and explaining the sutra. So the Abhidhamma Kosa is a sastra, is a commentary. The 20 verses are commentaries, okay? The Chengwei Shirun is commentary. None of them are sutra. So the Sandinirama Sutra, it's not included, it's not, you know, at that time Asanga did not divided the 6 consciousness into 6, 7, 8. It's starting from the 30 verse. And also the Chengwei Shirun, of course, you know, heavily emphasize on that. So you see only 2, okay? So again, you know, before we were saying that the 3 nature, which is verse 23, actually started from verse 20, okay, not 23. But, you know, for the purpose of our study, I just, you know, go along with this chart, say 23, started from verse 20. And then book number 8 on the, you know, on the 3 nature. That's what the last set of PPT that, you know, I just show. Now it's from verse 2 through verse 9 on the 30 verses side. Book 1, book 2, I'm sorry, book 2, 3, and 4. Those are the 3 chapters, okay, or the verses that talk about the 8 consciousness, the alaya, the manas, and the mano, vijnana, okay? So this slide is mainly focused on these 3 things, okay? So again, this is from Dan Su Su, talking about Yogacara. And then here is start with the 8 consciousness. Okay. I think we probably need to go over this a little bit later. Just, visit it. At this point, I just want to show you here again, the original verse, the translation, the explanation, okay? Go back one. Now you see 2, it's got the explanation here, and then the one before, explanation again. Then here is actually start the explanation of verse 2. So you see how many pages? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 pages or 3 slides. The author explains what verse number 2. So this is verse number 3, verse number 4. Okay, and Dan Susu's explanation on the Alaya Vijnana, okay, the 8th consciousness. Then we go to the manas. So start from verse number 5, we start the manas. Okay, 5. And then 6 is pretty important. It talk about the kishas, okay, the 4 afflictions. 7 is a lengthy explanation. This, I just have to put this up, it's the author's viewpoint. So Dan Susu's talking about the manas, just, I tried to dig out from his slides from the class before, but this is, I think, this is how he explained the manas, focus on the 4 afflictions, okay? And then he has this chart of afflictions. Then we go to the 6th consciousness, okay? Start from 8, verse number 8, number 8, and then Dan Susu's explanation on the Mano, it's Mano Vijnana, the 6th consciousness, okay? Again, so, oh, what did I do? I kind of scroll back. Okay, Dan Susu's brief explanation on the 6, 7, and 8. Okay, very important, very important. So those are actually Chen Weishen focus on 2 things. So you can see it from his chart, very clear, okay, 2 charts that explains whatever previous slide is showing you, okay. And then we come to the seeds, the bijas, okay. Bija, here, the divided, indeterminate, and the undivided, it's not that difficult. You think that it's very complicated, but it's, intellectually, it's not that difficult to understand. But we'll go over it later. So here is Dan Susu's note. Now this one, 3 kinds of subject transformation or transformers, they have different explanations on that one. We can say that if we base on transformer, then we know that there are 6, 7, and 8, right? Those 3 are be able to transform. But if we're looking at the process of transforming, then, there is another set of explanation. But for, our class, we just stick with this one, okay? 3, and then here is, we transform the first 5 consciousness into this is what we call cognition with unrestricted activity, okay? 成所作智. And then the next one would be transforming from the mano to the wondrous observation cognition. So somebody would combine those two, okay? Combine those two. And then the 7 would be from the manas with affliction to the cognition of equality in nature. Then the last one is for, transferring the alaya, the storehouse, to the great mirror cognition. Okay, that's the final stage. So those are the 2 files that I put together so that, we can focus and study for the examination, or, for the homework, for the next homework. Now, oops, what did I do? Okay, I have to stop sharing. And then I want to show you one more thing, and then we'll take a break. Okay. I don't know if you can see this clearly, but we'll try. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. I pulled this information. It's got like it's translated from Sanskrit by, I don't know how, Rashi, Hoshin Rashi, and, by this group of people. So start with the original Sanskrit, the translation, and then the explanation. Okay, so I this is from 1 through 30, verse 1 through 30, verse number 30. Okay, 1 through 30. But what I pull is what we need for the nature, for the consciousness. Okay, say from 2 to 8 is for explanation, and the verse for consciousness to 8. And then I believe that, I think it's 23. Actually, it's from 20. It's already explaining, talking about the 3 natures. So we'll take a break. This is a good time for a break, 15 minutes. Right now.
30 verses -2.
This is, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. To go back to the Sandinimochara Sutra anymore, okay? You just look at the YF-1, the 3 nature, and YS, only YF-1. It's with the sutra, okay? So you don't have to go back to study the sutra for the homework purpose and for the exam purpose, okay? But you can always go back and refer for detailed information. Okay, does that make sense? Am I making it clear or confuse you more?
Yes, I think it's clear. I just need the notes to follow along because I get lost otherwise.
Okay. So if you want to just focus on the homework and the exam, you can just, focus on the YF-1, the 3 nature, for the sutra part of it.
Okay.
Because the sutra, I pinpointed on the 3 nature. Of course, there are, other information in there. I'm not saying that they're useless or anything, but for the purpose of homework, for the purpose of exam, because we don't have that much time, and then you have other classes to worry about, you know, that's why I put them together to, you know, make it easier. Okay, so any other question?
So again, you said for purposes of the exam, focus on handout YF-1.
For the yoga school of Yogacara.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, for the school of Yogacara, YF-1 and YF-2. But for the sutra part, for the Sandinimochara Sutra, then only on YF-1, because YF-2, it comes later. It's about the 8 consciousness and the bija, and you know, Asanga, you know, at that time, you know, those theories are not arrived yet, are not developed yet. So remember, one of them is the sutra. The sutra is by Asanga, okay, translated by or explained by Asanga or translated by Asanga, okay? So any question, any other question? So I assume, you know, I make this clear, right?
Crystal.
I know a lot of information. You know, I got it when I prepared it. I got it mixed up with Abhidhamma a lot.
Well, the problem I had was if I don't get the handout title right off the bat, then you move on and you can't find it. So it's harder to follow along if I can't get to my file, open it, and know I've got the right one.
Okay, okay. Always look for the last one that I post.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I got all those. But you posted like 10 of them.
Yeah. I'm starting to send out the graded homework one. So so what you will receive is, through your email. I didn't put any, it's just, your email and then the attachment, okay? I didn't say anything in the email, so forgive me of not, doing any tags on the email, just, the homework graded and then, the attachment. So I'll start doing that at lunchtime. All right, so let's go back to stop sharing. So the 30 verses we already I'm sorry, on the 3 natures we have, we went through a lot, so I'm not going to go over that because you guys very smart. You can, try to tackle that. So here is the eight consciousness. So basically, it explains about, divided the 6 consciousness in the original or early Yogacara school into 6, 7, and 8. Each had different functions. So the 8th consciousness, which is the alaya consciousness, it's a very important one, as we understand, because this is the consciousness that contains the wholesome and unwholesome and unwholesome, or indeterminate bijas. Even later on, getting into the Tathagata Gapa theory, that it's about this 8th consciousness. Okay, so here it says, the ripening, what we can call the reflexiveness. This word, it's kind of like, it describes the function of the alaya. Actually, ripening, it's more describing the bija, and then the reflexiveness, it's describing the function of the alaya. Okay, and then this is the 3 things: ripening, reflexiveness, and then perceiving object. Perceiving object, I don't know if you still recall Dan Ye's explanation. It's called what is it called? Remember? He said it's very difficult to explain. We'll come to it later on. So let's stay with that. So the ripening can also be described as a storehouse containing all possibilities. Okay. So here the explanation, the author's explanation, the translator's explanation is that the first aspect is called the ripening. The second is the reflectiveness. And the third is involving in perceiving object as the level of everyday dualistic experience. So this third aspect is the one that brings that beings are most commonly aware with. Okay, so our focus day to day is more like understand or perceiving, like you, I, black, white, wholesome, unwholesome. It's a duality. So the purpose of describing these 3 aspects is to direct our attention to the underlying structure of the delusion. So they may be, they may be open. Okay. So if we understand the underlying structure, then we will understand that why all these defilements. Where are these defilements coming from? So the first aspect is the ripening. Also can be described as a storehouse containing all these possibilities and seeds. So here is the function of the main function of the alaya. Doesn't mean that the alaya doesn't have any other function. Okay, we'll look at it. So it is important to remember that this is a description of the function. Remember, we talk about the function and not just something that we make a statement out of it. Okay. Then it went ahead and explained this is so-called the alaya vijnana. It's based on total view of knowing or the fact of experiencing it. the alaya vijnana contains all possibility of experience, because it is impossible to experience anything without experiencing it. Of course, the alaya is open knowing and contain both the possibility of confusion and the result of suffering or dissatisfaction that arise through confusion, and the possibility of realizing the true nature of the alaya itself, which is no objectification or subjectivity either. So how do we interpret this? Can anybody interpret that? So here the translator was trying to explain, what is the function of the alaya, okay? Okay, it's difficult to explain in words. Okay, let's take meditation, for example. We sit there, we have our eyes closed, almost all of the first 5 senses, put it in a very steady situation. Then we sit and meditate, and then one thought comes out, say, I'm thinking about what's for lunch. So one thought during the meditation, one thought comes out. And then, and then we all of a sudden we realize that, oh, my mind is going to the lunch. Then we'll tell, ourselves that come back to meditation, because, we are now here meditating. So this, let me use voice, okay? This voice telling us to come back, okay, itself, the voice itself, is this part of the knowing, or is it there is another individual or entity is telling us that come back? So here is like the alaya is able to know, okay? To know what? To know the confusion, and then the to know the result of suffering. Okay, to know confusion and suffering. And then it also has the possibility of realizing the nature of itself. Like, the voice itself, is it just it's a voice coming from the self, or is it a voice from the other person, So it has the capability of knowing confusion, and also have the capability of knowing what is the alaya, the nature of alaya itself. So that is the function of the alaya. So the next one, it's it's just a little bit of the explanation of how this theory or idea developed. So we just go to the next one, which is the verse number 3. It says the alaya vijnana has no activity of grasping. Again, describing the function. It's only store, but it doesn't have the capability of grasping or identifying. Say something you put into computer hardware. The computer hardware does process, right? if you put a program in there, but the hardware won't be able to identify, it's only processing what you tell it to process, but it won't be able to identify, okay, this is a good program, I'm going to process it. This is a bad program, I'm not going to process it. It doesn't have that capability. So it doesn't have the activity of grasping. If it's a good program, oh, I'm going to hold on to that, or this is a bad program, I'm going to reject it. That is not the function of the alaya vijnana. Okay, so that is why we call it just a storage. But then it's more than a storage, because maybe Corey can explain it better. What is the RAM difference between the RAM and the processor? The RAM is only to storage, right? And
yeah, it's a temporary storage area while programs are running, while the processor does all of the calculations and processing of the program.
Yes. But we cannot do one without the other, right?
Correct. They are both needed.
Okay. So it functions like a RAM that is store things that we experience, but then it also had the capability of taking it, right? It has to have the capability of taking it. Whether it's a bad program, not a bad program, whether it's good data, not a good data. Okay, so same as alaya. It still have some mental activities as like the confused mode of experience, such as the ability to perceive and think and know. But however, these do not occur with any kind of localization or contraction into the self or event. Okay. The computer won't say that, oh, this is I, the computer. So it's got the function of storage. It's got, you know, some sort of capability of taking in, so that it's later on when we got to the transformation, we'll understand more. Almost the same, but you know, that's something that we can think about. So that's number 3. Number 4, about the alaya in the ripening or alaya, there is no reactivity. It's stored, but it don't process. Like when some experience that, you know, like when papancha start, remember, the contact, feeling, perception, then volition. Volition is a reaction. Okay, somebody said something to me, my heartbeat gets faster, you know, anger arises. So anger arises before we put into verbal or physical, you know, the mental already react to it because anger is a mental factor, right? So it's a reaction. So it does not react, no feeling of loss and gain, acceptance or rejection. Nothing is hidden or separate because all experiences arise as they play, as the play of experience. All mental activities occurs in this way. It's just a flow. You know, it comes, it store, it eradicate. If you know, you purify that, you know, some of the unwholesome get purified. That is it. That's the function of the alaya. Okay. So Dan Zizu said that, the first is alaya, which is a storehouse or repository consciousness. Oops, forgot to. Okay. It's also called the a retributive consciousness, that the consciousness that carries within all the bijas and seeds. Okay, so it brings fruition. It brings to fruition all seeds. So if we have like wholesome seed, then we know that, we will perform wholesome actions. Then with the wholesome action, then we'll be able to have the good effect, a wholesome effect. So the next one is the manas. Now the 30 verses said that, but ceases with the attainment of freedom dependent upon the perfection consciousness, and having objectified it is the consciousness called the manas, which is basically reflective. Okay, so remember we have three. At the beginning we said ripening, reflective, and the perceiving, right? The three. Those are the three describing the 8th, the 7th, and the 6th. So, however, this flow of alaya still contains the possibility of confusion. When one realizes the nature of thatness, or the actual nature of all that is awakened to reality from the dreams or dualism, alaya can no longer become the ground, being confused about the ignorance of this fundamental freedom. So when one awakens, when is one awakened? That means we eradicate all our defilements, right? Then we enter the state called equanimity, right? Then we don't have any duality appear in the mind. That means there is no arising, no ceasing. That is why there is no wholesome, unwholesome. At that point, that the alaya can be based on, to hold the seeds, cannot be based on to retribute, to bring effects, because we are transforming all these consciousness into wisdom. Okay, then what happened then? So when this open quality of alaya, the ripening or perfecting, flow into the possibility of objectification, knowing is conceived as a self. Before that, remember we talked about the flowing, the incoming data, and then store there. And then we can, there is a wholesome, unwholesome. The alaya is able to understand or know these are the wholesome, these are the not wholesome. They kind of like, put it into classification. Okay, it's just like the RAM, you can segment, put into different section, into segment. So when that flow is still going on, there is something, that come up, the mind, something come out and say that, to differentiate that, okay, this is the self, this is I, this is something else, this is, my enemy, these are my friends. So this concept is not merely intellectual, it's built in. Okay, it's already built in. So this is called refractiveness, and also called the manas. And Yogacara also called it, the deceived mind, because it grasps the one part. I don't know how to translate it into English, but I'll look up into it. In Chinese, it's called grasping the jianfen part of the alaya as the self. Jianfen, perception part of the alaya. Okay. The knowing part, let me say. The knowing part of the alaya. So storage is storage. There is a part of the alaya called the knowing part of the alaya. So manas is grasping this knowing part, knowing portion, or knowing function of the alaya as the self. Because we can differentiate, oh, I see. Before we say see, we have this I, or else, who's going to see? So this is the function of the manas. So the next one is the manas so defective or contaminated because it always have these 4 views or 4 frictions go hand in hand with that. So we will come to what are the 4 later on. Okay. Verse 7, it says, wherever the reflective mind arises, contact and other events occur with the same quality. It does not arise for those who are free, nor those who attained the cessation. So with the sages, who already reached it or attained it, the fruition, we're talking about arahats, or at least the 8th bhumi of a Bodhisattva. Okay, it's going to, it's kind of not totally, if I, remember correctly, but until they enter the non-residue nirvana, then arahants, if I remember correctly, is still, do they have the alaya? Do they have the manas? I have to check on that one. If I remember correctly, they should not. Because they shouldn't, because they already get rid of the self-view. The 10 factors. Okay, so these are the explanation. So here, Daniel, explained that the manas function concurrently with the the consciousness, the stored consciousness, which is the 8th consciousness without lapse. Right now we're separating 6, 7, 8. Actually, they function all together, especially the manas and the alaya. You cannot separate them. They just, stick to each other. So these are the 4 afflictions: the self-view, the conceit, the love of the self, and ignorance. Okay. Next one is the chart. Okay. So like self-delusions or self-belief, self-conceit, or love, or self-love, or you can, translate into delusion, view, identity. and self-love, okay? Those are important to remember, because in that way we know how the manas function, react. Those are the things we cannot see. I mean, we can intellectually know, unless we are in deep meditation, that, you know, we will be able to understand or you know, experience a little bit. This is even more difficult to realize than the mental factors. The mental factors, when a thought arises, we know that, you know, anger arises. Anger is a mental factor. Or we know that regretfulness arises, it's a mental factor. Or we know that non-greed arises, then that's a mental factor. Okay, so it's easier during, even in the day-to-day activities. You know, somebody said something to me, or I break my precious watch, you know, sadfulness arises. Mental factor, it's a little bit, it's more easier to detect. But these four afflictions, they are so subtle. It's not easy to detect. So then we come to the sixth consciousness. So sixth consciousness, when we talk, that is why I choose, you know, the Honeyball Sutra, because it's, if we understand the process of papancha, we will understand a little bit more when we get into Yogacara or Abhidhamma, okay? So the first five consciousness, its function is cognition, okay? Now, when the first five consciousness arise, you know, we know that contact arise, feeling arise, perception arise. Those three afterwards, after the cognition arrives, immediately the function of the sixth consciousness, which what we call the mano vijnana, take place almost immediately to give us, to direct us to feeling, perception, and volition. Okay, so those are the function of the sixth consciousness. So maybe Dan Ye's explanation. Okay, here. So the mano is the discriminating mind. This is a very good description. So it is the mano who said that, okay, this is a pleasant sensation, this is an unpleasant sensation, or the sensation is neutral. Perception based on my past experience, I like, I dislike, or I don't care, okay? Then with the like or don't like, I make a decision. So the function of that is like investigate. And the next process, first investigate, I like, I don't like, okay? Then 审虑决定发动. Okay, then I make a decision. I have to translate it. Then make a decision, what do I want to do? And then, you know, I decided to do it. I see this person, it gives me a very negative sensation, unpleasant sensation. So this is a bad person. I give it a name, evaluate it. Okay. Then I say that, okay, then when I see him again, I'm going to slap him. Okay. So those are the three processes. Discriminating mind is able to do all those. So the mano vijnana coordinates all of the five, like I just mentioned, it takes over. Then the mano vijnana sense is excellent at observation, okay? Only when the manas, the seventh ego self gets involved, does this observation become corrupted by the teacher, okay? So I like it, I don't like it. I decided to take action, mental action, okay, mentally I decided. But then before that, it's only discriminating. But this I comes in. If this I doesn't come in, somebody say something to somebody, it's only words. The mano vijnana will differentiate, investigate. This is pleasant, this is unpleasant, this is I like, this is I don't like, this is what I'm going to do. Now, without this I, okay, without this I, words are only words, sounds are only sounds. Okay, even though I know that, this is pleasant, unpleasant, I like. Well, you have to use the I here. So you cannot do it without the manas. So it's so closely connected to each other. Okay. Or else none of the process will function. Cognition is just, the five consciousness cognition. Evaluation by the mano vijnana. Then afflicted by the manas, the seventh consciousness, stored it into the alaya, which is the eighth consciousness. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions so far? Okay, let's look at Tanya's summary. It says the first five consciousness is just the sight, the hearing, smell, taste, touch. The sixth consciousness, discriminating, it organize, coordinate, plus the mind being able to observe and discriminate between objects and experience. Then the manas comes in, self-constructing ego mind, to judge the object, experience based on contact, feeling, all these. Then the eighth consciousness, store. So these are the karmic seeds. Okay, so those are the eight consciousness. Good thing is that we have this good chart, okay, that explains in very much detail. So we can read that. So with all these, so what is perfuming? Go back a little bit.
Kathy, could I have a question before you move on?
Sure, sure.
I'd like to ask about this chart, eight consciousness and their functions. On the sixth, that says discriminating mind. What differences between this one and the perception that we have?
Okay, the perception, it's the same thing as the discrimination mind. It's the same thing. It's just, function in different stage. The first five is the cognition, I see. But see just, you know, the form and then the color, right? After seeing that, remember the process of papancha. After seeing that, you know, physical eye contact, come across to the external object, the eye consciousness arise, then the process of contact arise. Contact is, I call it a process. So that consciousness, the eye consciousness, the function is just to cognize. As long as we cognize, the discriminating mind arise to take over the eye consciousness. So the eye consciousness, it's no longer exists. It's been taken over by this sixth consciousness, the discrimination mind. So when this discrimination mind takes over the first five consciousness, the cognition consciousness, it start to evaluate. So feeling is part of the discrimination mind. Perception is part of the discrimination mind. Volition is the part of the discrimination mind. Does that make sense?
That means the number 6 discriminating mind is a combination of all those: perception, yes, feeling, and yes, volition?
Yes.
Okay, so then what would this number 7 and number 8 play? Storehouse is where they get the data from?
Yeah, storehouse is where to get the data from. Not only that, it's able to store, you have to input, right? And then
right,
you get the data from, sorry.
I thought my understanding was through those 5 aggregates, right? Mm-hmm. The 5 faculties, mm-hmm, they automatically the data will be going into the storehouse.
Oh, no,
right? No,
not yet.
Okay, so it's from the discriminating mind simultaneously will do the discriminating, and the data will be stored. Not because yet. When you discriminate, you need to based on something to discriminate.
Right.
So
after the discrimination mind, so after that, it has to have the manas. Or else, you know, because the manas, it's acting a connection between the number 6 and number 8.
Generate the concept. How because when you say generates the concept of the self, then each one is different. Each individual is different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or, right?
Well, the manas, almost, you know, all sentient beings are the same.
Oh. Okay, it's just a process, yeah, going from discriminating mind to storehouse. You need that connection.
Yeah, but you know, why is this manas, the 8th consciousness, so important? Because when the discriminating mind is differentiating, it's based on the 7th consciousness. For example, if I see this computer, so we know that the function of the eye of cognizing the computer, right? And then I have this feeling that this computer I don't like, you know, it gives me a negative or unpleasant sensation. So when the negative sensation arises, feeling arises. Or when contact arises, feeling, sensation arises, then why do I don't like this computer? So I go back to my alaya and say that, okay, because this computer is a very old one. Okay, That is from my previous experience. That is stored in the eighth consciousness. Okay, then I come back to the discrimination mind and say that, okay, my experience tells me that this computer is too old. Okay, again, the function of discriminating mind. All right, pulling information from that storehouse. And then we make a decision, okay, I'm going to throw it away. That's the volition part of the discrimination mind. Now, how can we go back to the storage? We have to have this, what we call the I, or else the computer is a computer. It's not related, whether it's old or broken or whatever. It's not related, right? It's not my computer. And it's because I think, because of this self-cherishing mind that I can, I can say that this is my computer and I don't like it. So you see the connection. Without this I being around, it's a computer. So what?
So is that the meditation comes into play? So this self-cherishing mind will be diminished?
No.
No more self-view? We don't identify
No.
the subject with it?
No, because it is so subtle. Like I said, mental factors, it's easier to detect. When we meditate, we know what arises in the thought. But this self-cherishing mind, this manas, is there constantly 24/7, every split second. Who is meditating?
5 aggregates?
See, it's so subtle that, the 4 afflictions, the self-view, until one reached the first entrance state, the fruition, then the self-view, it's not going to go away. Okay? Not alone that, the aversion and craving, those two, even though one entered the stream of entrance, attained that fruition, those two are still exist. It might be reduced. Okay. So self-view, the view of 借进去, the view of what do you call it? Erroneous practice, and then the doubt. The 3 factors are eliminated on the self-entrance, the state. The craving and aversion still there, but it's minimized. So not to say about the, the manas. No, it's still there.
So arahants do not have manas?
That's the question that, I would think that, but I have to double check. They don't, because they eradicate all the factors. So they should not, but let me double check on that. But they still have, if they still alive, which they are not entered non-residue nirvana, then they still, the 8th consciousness still with them, for sure. So they still have a very subtle habitual pattern retained. That's according to the, Mahayana Sutra. Well, actually, Nikaya, I have read that, oh no, that's the Mahayana Sutra. That's one of the agamas, but agama can be, it's the early Buddhism also. But I'm not sure. But I have read that, arahants still have the residue before they enter the non-residue Wuyu Nirvana. They still have the very subtle habitual pattern with them.
Oh, I see. So that's one of the differences between arahants and Buddha.
Yeah. But that's according to the Mahayana Sutra.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
but
thank you.
For the Theravada tradition, they said that there is no difference, except that they don't know how to teach. And there is another thing they don't know is they cannot penetrate into the other's previous life or future lives. So they cannot do predictions. Remember, never in any sutra saying that, the Arahant can predict so-and-so to become Arahant or Buddha or, whatever. Right? There is another, a sutra, I think we mentioned it before, that the Buddha, Anathapindika, was sick, and Sariputra, Buddha sent Ananda and Sariputra to visit him. And then at his dying bed, at Anathapindika's dying bed, they only teach, the Sariputra teach the path of the advanced mind. That means, going to
Heaven.
Heaven, rebirth in heaven, or, a better place. But Buddha reproached him, why don't you teach him the way of liberation? So, and Sariputra is an Arahant.
Still just a limit.
Yeah, they do. That is how, I see it. That is one of the reasons why Mahayana Sutra is developmental. They are not satisfied with that kind of answer. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So those are the two. Now the bija, it's very difficult to understand because it's not the bija, not the seed that we can, touch, smell, see. It's not. It's called it bija, called it seeds, just to represent that there are differences. There are something that is planted or stored in our eighth consciousness. Okay. So the bija are comprised on the substance of the consciousness itself. So a question, somebody will ask a question, I haven't really studied on, what is the answer. Is the bija the eighth consciousness? Is it different from the eighth consciousness? Is it the same or equal to the eighth consciousness? So I think, if I remember correctly, Chen Wei Shirun did poke into or try to explain it, but I haven't, not like Daniel, I did not actually study very deeply on the Chen Wei Shirun. So, but that's something we can explore later, okay? So So like we mentioned before, the alaya has the capability of segment or sectarian the inputs into different categories, like these are the wholesome, these are the unwholesome, these are the defiled indeterminate, these are the undefiled indeterminate. These are actually the seeds of the Tathagata Gaba, you know, the Buddha nature, which is the Buddha nature is actually sprout from this idea of the Tathagata Gaba. On the 20th verses of Vasubandhu, it divided all sentient beings or individuals into 5 categories. Okay, later on we'll take a look. One of the category doesn't have the Buddha nature. They don't have the seed of the Buddha nature. Okay, so they call the Ichanti. So the wholesome and unwholesome, we understand it's so easy. Defiled and undetermined, that means those are the seeds. They are neither wholesome nor unwholesome. They are neither non-wholesome nor non-unwholesome. We cannot decide, but they are defiled. Defiled means that they are obstacles for the transformation, or obstacles for the wholesome seed to arise. So they are actually obstacles, okay, those seeds. It's just like the gray color. It can be black, it can be white. All depends on which part of the color do you wash off. Okay, so this undetermined means that they are gray. So gray means that, you know, it hindrances the white to arise. Okay, it doesn't have function itself, but it's just a hindrance. Now, the other one is called undefiled. You know, they are more white than gray. Even though itself, it doesn't function, but it does not, you know, obstruct, or it's not impede the, to become more white, more wholesome. Okay, so that is the meaning of that. Now, can you say that the undetermined, can it lean towards the gray part or the black part? No, because they are undefiled. So it cannot reverse. The defiled one can hinder, even though itself doesn't function, it can hinder the arise or the white part to arise. But the undefiled by itself, the nature is already undefiled. So they cannot like be a hindrance of the white, of the black part to arise. Does that make sense? It takes logical thinking. I mean, it's Vasubandhu is back and forth, you know, try to prove this, try to prove that. Okay, next one we can see, you know, this picture. So in the middle is the Buddha nature. So the 20 verses saying that, okay, an individual has all these wholesome, unwholesome, determined, undetermined, defiled and undefiled, but they just lack of this middle one, the Buddha nature. Okay, and then it also classified that, you know, which group are with the Buddha nature, but, you know, with the seed, but, you know, they are more leaning towards enlightenment. Some of them are more difficult. So that's on the 20 verses. So 3 kinds of subjective transform. So what are the 3 that can be transformed? One is the alaya, we know that, you know, because we have the white, we have the black. So we can perfume. If the seeds get perfumed into the wholesome way, then we get rid of the black and we retain all the white. So it is an object. It is a subject that can be transferred, okay? Then next one is the manas. Manas can be transferred. If we perfume, again, the seeds, if we practice to give rise to wisdom, we know that this is actually non-substantial. This is the changing nature. This is not individually, independently existing. Then the I or mind or the self is going to reduce. Then it is, you know, the manas can be changed, can be transformed, not changed, but transformed. Now the 5, the 5 or the 6, not the 5, the 6 consciousness also can be transformed, because when we perceive something that is bad, one story here. A mother with 2 sons. One is selling umbrella or rain gear. The other one is selling straw sandals. When it's sunny, the mother will worry about, you know, the son selling the rain gear does not have business and will not make a living. When it's raining, the mother will worry about the son who is selling the straw sandal, that he won't have business and won't make a living. So the solution is the same perception, okay, rainy day or sunny day, rainy day or sunny day. So the resolution is, when it's rainy day, the mother would think about the son who is selling the rain gear, that, oh, he's having this business and will survive. When it's sunny day, the son selling straw sandal will be able to make his living, a good living with good business. So same rainy day and same sunny day, the perception is different. The consciousness, the 6 consciousness is different. Okay? So that is, you know, how the 6 consciousness or discriminating mind can change or transform. So those are the 3 subjects of transformation. So transform from what to what? The first 5, we can translate cognition with unrestricted activity. Okay. Then the second, the manas, the discriminating, the mano vijnana, we can transfer to a wondrous observing cognition. You can look at, like, you know, the rain and sun, look at the thing from a different perspective. The 7th, we can transform from a self-cherishing mind to the cognition of equality in nature, okay? It's no I, no mine, no you, no them, no duality, okay? Mainly it's the I and mine. Then the storehouse can be changed, and this is the final and complete fulfilled one. It's called the great mirror of cognition, to purify all the forms, all the bijas, you know, not only the black bija, also the white bija, because bija are only bijas. Knowing is only knowing. There is no knower, no object of knowing, no receiver. Okay, that is why, you know, the great mirror cognition is just like looking into the mirror. There is no difference from the person who look into the mirror and the reflection of the mirror. Okay, does that make sense? Any question? We might want to take a break if no question. A lot of information, right? A lot of information. But you guys are smart guys. So you can comprehend, you understand, you can put it into essay, you can answer the exam questions. No doubt about it. I have no doubt about it. So no question, right? These two PPTs files, YF-1 and YF-2, it's going to help you answer problem number 2 on the new assignment, on the second assignment. And it's going to appear unless, you know, unless the university have other ideas. But if I'm going to give the exam question, this definitely it's going to be one of the questions. Okay, unless they say that, you know, Kelly Troy, you're crazy. Who is going to put up exam questions like that? Okay. So we can take a break, maybe 15 minutes.
All right, sounds good.
Any question? If not, we'll go to the 20 verses. What did I do? So everyone see the share screen?
Which handout? Which handout are we on now?
Okay, let me check. This is the 20 VS-1, the 20 verses.
Thank you.
Okay. So, like I said, you know, 20 verses, it's a different species. Remember Vasubandhu, first he start to refute or object the idea of Savasivadian. Then he come up with the Abhidhamma Kosa, explaining every single detail, using first start with the Karika, which is the verses. Then he wrote the commentary, the Sastra, to explain his verses. So in there, he also critiqued some of the ideas of you know, a lot of the ideas of the Sarvastivadians, mainly because he opposed the Sarvastivadins' idea of the three-period existence. Okay, it's truly existing in the past, it's truly existing in now, in the present, truly existing in the future. So that is the main point that he opposed. And then he also saying that, you know, when he opposed something, the school of Yogacara is such that when he refute or oppose something, he come up with, you know, the saying that, hey, you're wrong. Here is the right thing. So he come up with something that is right. First, he tells you that you're wrong. Then he said that these are the right thing. While Madhyamika, they have a different approach. They said that, you know, totally is depending arising. Any theory, any doctrine, any dhamma that that is, you know, would not exist without condition. So if he object or refute any idea is also a dhamma, okay? If he saying that you're wrong, he's not going to show you what is right, because whatever the idea, it come up to oppose that, it's another idea. So when Nagarjuna saying that, you know, this arises, that arises, that, but then he is not giving you a new concept or new doctrine and telling you this is right. While Yogacara school would be saying that you're wrong and this is right. Okay. So they're you know, arguing back and forth. But then in the school of emptiness, the school of Madhyamika, they do have different levels. To start with, they actually agree with Yogacara. It's until later, you know, they think that no, this is not going to be, because, you know, if you're saying something is right, that something is still a conditioning arising, it's still empty in nature. So 20 verses of Vasubandhu does not establish any concept at all. It's just pure refutation. Okay. It doesn't mean that he's not giving you some idea. It doesn't mean that he come up with, you know, any solution. He still do. But then the main point is, you know, just give you some idea what is wrong. Okay, and why is it wrong? So some of the objections we'll see, like objection and then refutation, or you know, objections or questions and answers. So those objections, he is, there are some commentaries saying that these are not actually external objections, like somebody actually come up to him and say that, hey, Vasubandhu, you know, I object you on this because of that. No, he is thinking about this could be a, you know, the subject. These could be the questions to be asked. Okay, and of course, some of them are actually people challenge him. So all depends on who is going to do the translation and interpretation of these 20 verses. So, but in general, we know that there are questions, we know that there are answers, we know that there are objections, we know that there are refutations, okay? So some definition to start with. Mia, in Chinese word is wei, mia means only. No, the word wei means mere or only. Shi is consciousness. So it's mere consciousness. Then according to Kui Ji, he said that mere means disapprove the idea that is something truly exists in the universe other than the perceptive existence. Okay, other than, it's only the perspective existence. And then consciousness, meaning that refute the teaching of emptiness, which is what we just said against the Madhyamika school, okay? I think the refute is wrong. It should be R-E-F-U-L-T-E, right? Am I correct? See. L-T-E. No, I'm right then, R-E-F-U-T-E. Yeah, so that one is correct. No need to change. So it's refute the teaching of emptiness, just, getting head on head, that all phenomena are empty, including the consciousness also empty. So if you're saying that it's mere consciousness, that would not be able to establish, because if you are saying that the consciousness is also empty, so what is this mere consciousness come from, right? So they oppose the Madhyamika's idea of that including the consciousness is empty. But then the Madhyamika, they have a different explanation. We're not going into that. So Daniel introduced this Xuanzang. So we, here is just some of the backgrounds or key points about Xianzhuang. So there are various translations of the 20 verses, but then the most commonly studied is the one that translated by Xianzhuang, or Xianzang. Now he's born in the 600s and passed away at 664, ordained at 13 in the city of Luoyang. At the time, it's the capital city of Tang Dynasty. So he traveled from the age 19 to 28, about 17 years. No, 19 to 28. No, from age 19 to 28, he traveled between those two cities, Chang'an, which is Xi'an now, and Sichuan. Sichuan, it's, if you like spicy food, it's there. And he studied it, some of the commentaries, especially by Asanga. Then he moved to Abhidhamma. So he did study the Abhidhamma Kosa Sastra. Then he found that these commentaries are conflicting each other, have their own, not necessarily conflicting, but there are different explanations. Then he decided to go to India, so start his journey to the West. And then he arrived in Nanda, studied there under Silabhadra, okay, very well-known senior monk there. Then he studied the Yogacara. He studied the Pakarana Yavacha Sastra. Okay, mainly he studied it, other than the Sandini Roma China Sutra, that a lot of them he studied the commentary. That is why he consulted 10 of the most famous commentators and come up with the 成唯识论. So when he come back after 17 years, he start his translation Korea. At this palace called Yuhua Palace, he started translating the 20 verses with his disciple Kuiji, recording and finishing the translation the same year. Okay, so it doesn't take him very long. So when translating the 20 verses, Xianzang would review other translations and compare to the original text in order to make corrections and clarifications, or even sometimes retranslate. Now, during the period of translation, Xianzang usually would give a Dhamma talk for 2 hours every evening to discuss the newly translated sutra and commentary. So being the person who recording it, Kuiji has the first hand to learn. So in 663, after translated the 600 scrolls of Mahayana Prajna Paramita, he felt that his energy is fading. So in January, the next year, he passed away at the same Paris. So his disciple, we know that he has many disciples. 2 of them are very outstanding. One is Kuiji, the other one is Yuan Che. So both of them are very, very well known. They actually, try to interpret the 成唯识论, but because Kuiji is the recorder, the penman, so he wrote a lot of the comments, commentaries, prefaces, and everything, to Xianzang's translation work. So who is this guy? This guy is a Chinese monk and prominent disciple of Xianzang. He born in the Tang Dynasty in Xi'an, Chang'an. Renounced it and ordained it at the age of 17. Now, there is a legendary story that, why Kuiji renounced, because he's trying to substitute the emperor and to be ordained and become the student of Xianzang. The emperor want to be the student, but because he's emperor, so he sends somebody in place of him as if he, is renouncing. So because he resided in the Ci-En temple most of the time, he also addressed it as Master Ci-En. He's got another title, but those are from the mythology. It's not the same thing. So he helped his master with various translations and add narratives to many of them. So I would like to have somebody help me read the following file. Let me get out of this and pull out that file first. So you guys decide who is going to help me read.
I've got far too much noise here.
Okay. Maybe, let's see.
Maybe pick a number between 1 and 20.
Okay.
I picked David.
Okay. Can David help?
If you'll put it on the screen, I can read it.
Yeah, I will do it now. David, you read one part. Maybe Kyle read the second part. I have two here. One is translated or explained by, I took it from Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. The other one is by Dan Nusshaus. So David, you read the first part, which is by, Stanford Encyclopedia. Do you have a copy or you don't?
I'm just reading off your screen.
Okay, all right. So this is the part, and you stop at the end of this part. And then Kyle, can you read the second one?
He's getting his microphone hooked up, so he'll be with us and he'll be able to do that in a minute.
Okay, good.
Starting here.
Yeah, David.
20 verses is
Yeah.
Vasubandhu's most readable and evidently analytic philosophical text, and it has consequently drawn a significant degree of modern scholarly attention. It begins with a simple statement which Vasubandhu defends throughout the brief text and commentary. Everything in the three realms is only appearance. Vijna matra. The three realms are the three states into which Buddhists believe living beings may be reborn. For all beings except for Buddhas and advanced bodhisattvas, the three realms make up the universe. Vasubandhu glosses this statement with citations from scripture that make it clear that he means to say that there are no things, artha, only minds, sita, and mental qualities, jata. He says that the experience of the three realms is like the appearance of hairs in front of someone with eye disease. It is the experience, probably floaters, right? It is the experience of something that does not exist as it appears. Although the term has a history of controversy among interpreters of Yogacara, it seems safe to say that the 20 verses defends at least some of the form of idealism. After stating his thesis that everything is only apparent, Vasubandhu immediately voices a potential counter-argument which consists in 4 reasons that the three realms being appearance only is impossible. First and second, why are things restricted to specific places and times, respectively? Apparent objects can appear anywhere at any time. Third, why do beings in a given place and time experience the same objects and not different objects according to their distinct continua? And fourth, why do objects perform causal functions in the real world when merely apparent mental objects do not? These objections aim to prove the impossibility that the world is merely apparent by arguing that the elements of ordinary experience behave in ways that what is merely apparent does not. Vasubandhu sets up and meets these objections in order to prove possibility and hence viability of the theory that everything in experience is appearance only. He shows essentially that the objector has a narrow view of what is possible for merely apparent things. Appearances are not necessarily limited in the ways the objector thinks. Notice that there is not incumbent upon Vasubandhu here to prove that all instances of the merely apparent transcend the limitations assumed by the objector. He has not set up this objection in order to try to prove absurdly that all mental images, for instance, are spatially restricted, or that all mere appearances perform observable causal functions in the real world. On the contrary, one upshot of the recognition that things are appearance only, that things do not have the cause and effect structure that we ordinarily take them to have. In any event, positive argument that ordinary experiences is, in fact, illusory comes later and takes the form of an argument to the best explanation. Before an explanation can be the best, though, it must be a possibility. So here, all Vasubandhu must do to counter these initial objections is to prove, for each, a simple example of a mental event that exemplifies a behavior that the objector claims is only available to physical objects. To defeat the objections that mental objects are not restricted in space and time, Vasubandhu provides a counterexample that in dreams, objects often appear to exist in one place and time as they do in ordinary waking reality. In a dream, I can be looking at shells on a beach in Long Island during the summer of my 8th year. It is only upon waking that I come to realize the dream objects, the shells and the beach, were only mental fabrications, temporarily dislocated with no spatial reality. This, what is merely apparent, can sometimes have the character of appearing in a particular place and time. To say that they do not is to misremember the experience. Next, to defeat the objection that, unlike ordinary physical objects, merely apparent objects are not intersubjectively shared by different beings, Vasubandhu provides a counterexample that in hell, demonic entities appear to torment groups of hell beings. This is a case of a shared hallucination. When the objector wonders why the demons might not in fact be real, Vasubandhu appeals to karma theory. Any being with sufficient merit, sufficient good karma to generate a body capable of withstanding painful fires of hell would never be born into hell in the first place. Any creature in hell that is not suffering must be an apparition generated by the negative karma of the torment. Finally, to defeat the objection that merely apparent objects do not produce functional causal results, Vasubandhu provides a memorable counterexample of a wet dream in which an evident physical result is produced by an imagined sexual encounter with a non-existent lover. The initial objection to the mere possibility of the appearance-only theory quelled, Vasubandhu turns to his main positive proof. This consists in a systematic evaluation of every possible account of sensory objects as physical, which ultimately leads Vasubandhu to conclude that no account of physicality makes more sense or is more parsimonious than the theory that it is appearance only. Before turning to Vasubandhu's treatment of physics, it is worth stopping to note the crucial importance that Buddhist karma theory, Buddhist karma theory plays in Vasubandhu's argument overall. First, the proof of shared hallucinations in hell depends upon the particulars of the Buddhist belief in the hells. Of course, we might have believed in shared hallucinations even without believing in karma, but the tormentors in hell play an important double role in Vasubandhu's argument. He has the objector raise the question again and suggest, as a last-ditch effort, that perhaps the tormentors are physical entities generated and controlled by the karmic energies of the tormented. At this, Vasubandhu challenges his objector. If you are willing to admit that karma generates physical entities and makes them move around, pick up swords and saws, etc., so that they might create painful results in the mental streams of the tormented, why not just eliminate the physical? Isn't it simpler to say that the mind generates mental images that torment the mind? This is a crucial question because it resonates beyond hell beings across Buddhist karmic theory.
Thank you very much. I think we're at this maybe lunch break, 11:43. So any questions so far? So when we come back, Kyle will start reading the next part, which is,
Are there, this was with BS2 introduction. It's a Word document.
yeah, I pulled this two article out just to let you have some idea of what this 20 verses are all about to start with. Then we will go into some of the verses and introduction, and then some of the verses later on. So in this way, we first have an initial concept of what's going on. Oh, I turned my camera off. Yeah. What's going on first, then later on we will get into I think 1, 2, 3, 4 verses, if I remember correctly. So, but then those initial 4 verses are actually explaining how the logical, how the arguments that Vasubandhu used to answer those questions. Does that make sense? B is away, right? That's Lee's question, right?
It seems like I had 2 handouts labeled the same, but I think one of them was 20 verses and one of them was 30.
So the title of this handout, since it's a Word document, is at the top of the screen. It's 20 VS-2, Brief Introduction to the 20 Verses. She uploaded it yesterday.
Yeah, it's just my eyes don't read that very well.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Then we'll rejoin after lunch.
Right,
Yes,
sounds good.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you.